Good morning, Central Texas. Welcome to Kids Community Connections. I'm Phyllis Jones, your host, and we're going to talk about Juneteenth this morning. Juneteenth was yesterday, but we're going to talk about it today because, my show comes on Sunday morning. So we're going to talk about it today. But first, I want to wish all the fathers a happy Father's Day. And if you are a father and you haven't talked to your kids in a while, call them up and say, hey, how you doing? Start out today. Don't say they didn't call me, so I'm not going to call them. But if you haven't talked to them in a while, call them up. Sometimes things happen and we get all caught up, but call them. And those who have a father, appreciate your father, because some kids grow up without one, and it's not always good. Some men need a father, and some girls do too. But happy Father's Day to all you fathers out there. And also, today at 2 o'clock, you come out to the East Center for Juneteenth celebration. And all the fathers that show up, I have a raffle ticket for you. I will have one there. I'll be there. I'll have a raffle ticket for you. We have a lot of gifts to give away to fathers today. So 2 o'clock from 2 to 7, we'll be celebrating Juneteenth, the 5th year of celebrating Juneteenth at the East Center. So fathers, come on out there. I have some raffle tickets for you for a lot of gifts. We have 2 years ago, a year before when we did this, it wasn't many gifts, but this year, wow, it's a lot. So coming out, see me, I'll be there. I'm manning the Father's Day table. So come on out. And it's a free event. It's free, except for the food you're going to buy and the vendors you support, but it's free, so come on out. But anyway, let's talk about Juneteenth. First, let's discuss the fact that Juneteenth is now a national holiday. And I'll give you my take. So this is the Phyllis Jones take. This isn't 103.1 take. This is Phyllis. Right now, we live in a world where some unfortunate things happen. And what I'm saying is unfortunate. Okay, African-American males. When our African-American males leave the house every morning, a lot of our thoughts is, are they going to come back? And not, are they going to come back because they can run away? Or are they going to come back alive in one piece? Am I going to get that phone call that, they got pulled over and whatever happened? So that fear is when they leave the house. Are they going to come back? And, right now, not all police, but some police, they can shoot. We can be shot, raped, beat to death. What you call it, the chokehold, kneeing in your back. All kinds of things can happen to us, and we don't have a hate crime bill. There's no hate crime bill for us, So these things can happen to us, and most likely, the cops get away by saying, I feared for my life. Some individuals do things, and the same fear for my life. Oh my gosh! So they get away with it, and we get the other part, the other end of it. So we don't have any bills out there to protect us. We don't. We do not. And then the one white guy who decided that morning that, he didn't like Asians anymore, and he went on this little shooting spree. A few months later, they get a hate crime bill. And then we're all told that we must respect and love our Asians. And I'm not saying I hate them, but they get a hate crime bill. A few months after that, bam, they got one. And it's for them, not for us. And here we have the George Floyd bill we want signed. We want our voters' rights bill signed. We need that signed. So we don't get that signed. There's a fight to sign that amongst our Senate right now. A big, oh my gosh. They don't want to pass that. But yet, they give us something symbolic. So listen to me good. We get a symbolic, let's stroke them. We'll make Juneteenth a federal holiday. That's symbolic. That doesn't do anything for us. Now you have a lot of people, oh yeah, they give us another day off. Okay, so what? I'll say for me, it don't give me a day off. We off in the summer anyway, so what the heck? And I'm not from Texas, so Texas has a state holiday of Juneteenth in Texas, because that's what Juneteenth is all about. But, for those of us who are, yes, we got it, it's a federal holiday, and we dancing up and down, but you don't have a hate crime bill. You don't have a George Floyd Act. In Texas, the Crown Act, which protects our young men's hair, it didn't even get to the floor. It was made sure that it didn't get to the floor. George Floyd bill in Texas, it came out, but it got sent back to committee. And our Senate did not fight to get that back out there. Some of our legislators, they didn't fight to get it back out. So while you're happy about a federal holiday, look what we don't have. So to me, they gave us a pacifier to cover up something bigger. The cover up is, like I said, George Floyd Act is still a fight. It is still a fight. To give us something that will protect us, it's a fight. To make sure our voting rights stay, it's a fight. But they said, "Oh, we're going to give you this Juneteenth federal holiday," and everybody dancing in the street. Think about it, people. They gave us something symbolic. That's it. It's a straight up symbol. That's it. It's symbolic. They're going to give it to you, hoping that makes you happy. We're supposed to, at that point, be excited, happy, dancing in the street. Oh, let's barbecue because we got a federal holiday. Wow, really? But on that federal holiday, they can still whoop your behind, shoot our men, rape the women, whatever wants to be done, and say, "I feared for my life," while you got this symbolic celebration going on. That means absolutely nothing. So to me, that was an insult to make Juneteenth a federal holiday when the things that we need passing is a fight over, but everybody instantly does that. And yeah, well, of course not. Of course they're gonna fight us for those bills. But the pacifier is Juneteenth. Well, no, I'm not accepting that pacifier. I'm not. I don't know about you, but I'm not. Because if we do, we will never win anything. See, when they hand you a pacifier and you want something bigger, tangible, no. They gave us, like I said, they gave us a symbolic here. Let's give them a symbolic event. Let's make this a national holiday. And how are they going to make a national holiday out of a state holiday? Juneteenth only belongs to Texas. Legally, in actuality, and the history and everything, it's a Texas day. But we're going to make it a federal holiday. Oh, wow, yeah. Oh, okay, it doesn't cost them anything. They just signed for it. Did the president sign it? Yeah, why not? Hey, what is it? Just a bill. Fine. Let's sign it. We got some of our, and you find out also that 14 of our senators did not sign it. People are upset about that. Well, one senator, his excuse was he didn't like the way it was named. Really? For real? And the others didn't sign it. So you got people up in arms about, yeah, they didn't sign it. Well, I don't care about them not signing it. Why should we care about who signed it? My thing is, and what we should be caring about as a people is that we've asked for things that are tangible to us. I said, we don't have a hate crime bill. But they gave one to the Asians for the shooting. Immediately, they got one. We don't have one. George Floyd Act, still sitting there. It's still sitting there. It's a debate. It's still sitting there. We didn't get that. Our voting rights are being taken away slowly, and we have a bill up there for it. We didn't get that yet. But yet, out of the blue, here comes the symbolic Juneteenth. Let's give that to them. Oh yeah, let's hand it to them. They'll be happy. All right. So you do have some of us that are happy about it, but also you have those of us saying, "Okay, excuse me, why you didn't sign the rest of those bills when you signed that one? Why not have them all laid out and sign all of them? That would have made us happy. That would have, said, okay, we see. But no, you give us a symbolic event. And then from this symbolic event, you say, be happy, people. We gave you this. And as long as we laugh and dance and say we love it, they're going to always say, listen, people, we gave you a federal holiday. Okay, that's another day off. That's what that means, another day off, okay? Well, For me, it's not a day off. I didn't work anyway, but like I said, be careful when they give us something symbolic and not give us what we actually need. Be careful about that and think about it. I'm not saying be upset because it's, don't celebrate it. I'm not saying don't celebrate it. Not at all. But I want you to think about the fact that they gave us a symbolic thing. Yet the other group had a hate crime committed against them. First one we ever heard of, they get a bill passed faster than anything. They get the bill passed so fast, most of us probably got whiplash from like, what the world happened? We trying to figure out what happened, and it got passed. We still sitting there like, well, wait a minute. Well, let's think about that. Let's think about that as your United States Senator. We have, he's like, oh yeah, see what we did? Yeah. He got it all on Facebook. He got it. He bragging. He bragging now. He's bragging. And we're allowing him to brag. Well, you know what? Popped up on my Facebook from him. I sure answered back. What happened to this bill? Where is this bill? Why is this bill? I don't want this symbolic event. No. And, so let's be smart about it. Celebrate Juneteenth. Yes, do that. Because in Texas, it's when the slaves found they were free. We're going to talk about the history of Juneteenth. But be careful when it became a federal holiday that we didn't get what we wanted. We're still fighting for it. We are still today fighting for the same thing we fought for in the 60s. We've been fighting for a hate crime bill since we've been fighting. We haven't got it yet. But we surely got Juneteenth federal holiday. That's not going to free us from anything. All it is going to give you the day off. That's it. That's all it's going to do. So that's my take on that. That's how I feel about it. It's just not it. So let's talk about Juneteenth. All right. First of all, as we know, Juneteenth is not the first African-American holiday. A lot of us think that it is, but it actually is not. It's actually our third African-American holiday. The first and the second one kind of got taken from us a little bit there, but, we just need to take it back. And what I mean is it got taken away from us is we need to remember this. In January, let's go back to December. In fact, let's go back further than that. Let's go to September of 1862. So we're going to go to September. And that's when we had our president, President Lincoln, was discussing signing, the Emancipation or Freedom Act to free the slaves in only those states that was under control. And he was thinking about it. It was written in September. And we need to know is that the freeing the slaves wasn't like, oh, yeah, let's free them because we don't need them to be slaves anymore. Freeing the slaves was about a whole bunch of other things. First of all, as slaves couldn't fight in a war because they were owned by the oppressor. If I free you, you can fight. If I free these slaves, they can fight in a war, and some of them could die because a lot of us died. So we can bring them, we would say, boys in, and, they can fight in a war. And if some of them die, it's okay. But, but in order for them to fight, they can't be slaves anymore. And that's the simple fact and truth. Remember, think about it. Slaves are owned where they were owned. But once they're free, they were free. And, so they can fight in a war. They can do all these things. So the Emancipation Proclamation was written in September of 1862. That's when it was written. And it was to go in effect, and he was going to sign it. It was to be signed January 1st, 1863. Now, I know where am I at with these holidays that I was talking about. I'm still there. And leave those holidays alone. But as we know, the first holiday that belongs to us is Watch Night. Watch Night is New Year's Eve. But it wasn't called New Year's Eve ever until we allowed it to be changed, and it was changed to be commercialized. And remember, every time somebody else who doesn't look like us changes things, it becomes commercialized. And let me step back for a minute because we know now that Juneteenth is a federal holiday. Guess what's gonna happen next year? These stores we're gonna have Juneteenth plates, cups, tablecloths, a holiday that is not about being commercial. A holiday that's no commercialism. Next year, it's going to be commercials. I don't know what. Everybody going to be selling stuff. And guess what? Some of us going to forget who we are and where we came from, and we're going to buy it. We're going to buy it. So we need to be careful of that. But anyway, watch night services, when they originally began, on watch night, no, they didn't sit in a quote unquote church. The slaves sat in a building that they could allow to make a church out of it. If they were allowed to have a little gathering, they did it in that building. So that was what we would call a multi-purpose building. I guess they called it the everyday building, but today's language it would be a multi-purpose room. But that's where they gathered at. January 31st, 1862, that night. And the reason it was called Watch Night, because that's what someone did. See, Watch Night, you had the group in the building. You had somebody outside the door. He wasn't the guard. He was the other Watch Night person. You had him out the door, and then you had someone else further down. Because that person down further down was to let you know, yes, it's been signed. That's what their job was. And you think about it inside the building that they were in, it wasn't, all singing, religious songs, breakfast in the morning. That was not what it was. What that was what we're going to do tomorrow. That's what that was. What we're going to do, where we're going to go, what the plans. Because, there had to be a master plan. You was a slave on one day, the next day you're free. There had to be some plans. So this was not I'm not going to say they didn't sing, but this wasn't a total night of singing and all that and breakfast in the morning. No, it wasn't. It was a planning day. This was a planning night. They knew the next day they were going to be free. Time to make some plans, time to get some things done. It's time to find some of the family members that were elsewhere. It was time to see where they went, because some people knew where their relatives were. They knew they were a town over or two or whatever. They knew kind of where they were, but there was a planning time. So Watch Night, which is now New Year's Eve, is an African American holiday. And I won't even say American part because slaves weren't called Americans at the time, but I'll say it was an African American holiday. It is, and it's celebrated still today, but it's been taken out, commercialized, and changed. But still, actually, it is Watch Night. That is the first African American holiday. And like I said, Watch Night was when somebody was doing just that, watching and waiting. He waited for the word. He came and told him what the word was, and the one at the door came in the building. Hey, he signed it. We free. And you got to think that was rejoice and fear at the same time. Rejoice because you're free. Fear, where the heck I'm going? I don't have no money. Where I'm going to live, I don't want no money. I don't have no money. So, that's when that exchange came, when, the slaves worked and they were supposed to be working for their keep and get, some of the money, quote unquote, for the crops being sold and all that other stuff. Those things were supposed to happen. So, like I said, remember, our first holiday that we celebrated is called Watch Night, which I say now it's been commercialized and it's New Year's Eve. So that is actually our holiday, nobody else's. Okay, next day, the very next day. And some people called it Freedom Eve. They called it that too. Some people actually called it Freedom Eve. So on January 1st, 1863, we free. Slaves are free. They free. They can move around. Some of them, like I said, they found their family members. Some went to find their family members. Some of those who, quote, could read, read the proclamation to those who could not read, because it was in their little newspaper, and they got to find out, like I said, they were free. But you got to remember, they were only free in certain states. because you remember we were we had the Confederacy and all that, so all the slaves weren't quite free. And you also know that with this freedom that came in January, the slaves, as we know in Texas, didn't know. They did not know. So the war was still going on. That didn't stop. But what did stop, like I said, was the slaves that found out that they were free. Now, in 1865, the war was over in April, and then it became, we're not going to tell them. Now, did the slave owners know that those slaves were free way before June 19th? Yes, they did. They knew. They knew they were free, but you know what? As long as those slaves don't know, let's get some more work out of them. So you figure for 2 years and 6 months, they got some work out. They got some work out the slaves because they didn't know. They did not know. They didn't know they were free. No one came down, and jokingly, I've said to a couple of friends, we didn't come and tell y'all, and because we didn't. But they did not know they were free until General Granger came down and read the General Order Number 3, which freed the slaves. But also, we must read the rest of that General Order. See, we only read part. Most of us, some of us, put it this way, have never read the General Order. Some of us read part of the General Order. But the General Order let the slaves know that they're free. But it's also letting them know that they need to go back. That some of them need to go back to their slave oppressor, and not to be slaves again. But to then again, that's when all those other things started. They go back and they would work and get paid. Some of them never got paid. Some of them still stayed, I'll say slaves, because if you don't pay me and I'm working, I'm still a slave. They didn't have, and they got to live on the plantation that they left as slaves, as free people now. So a couple of things happened. Now we got to remember, when those slaves found out they were free in Texas, yes, that's when that was a happy moment, a happy moment. Then the nightmare set in, like I said, because also with that, when he read Order Number 3, he also knew that these slaves, they didn't have no, let's go down here, let's do this, let's go there. He knew that, they were going to have to go back. So that's when we became into the Reconstruction area, from 1865 to 1877 is when Reconstruction was going on. And during Reconstruction was when the slaves who are now free people went back, and you start working for, like I said, you start working for the very people you were a slave under. And like I said, you were working for your place to live, because they did have these little slap together houses. So you worked for a place to live, and you were supposed to share in the crops. You're supposed to, he give you so much, and, you get so much back. That's what was supposed to happen. Some of them it did happen, and a lot of them it did not happen at all. They didn't get anything. They didn't pay any, I'll say, quote unquote, rent, but they didn't get any share of the money. So some did, some did not, as we know. But what we need to know is that, like I said, when they found out they were free, it was a jubilation. Yes, they had celebrations, but like I said, then the nightmare sets in. But also what happened from there is the same thing that happened when the slaves found out they were free in 1863. A lot of them went to go get their family because they knew, when your family got sold, through word of mouth. Yeah, they got sold over there. They're over there. They're over here. You found that out. Now let me go back into a part of history that we don't talk about. We don't talk about it because nobody's saying anything about it. Is this, when after George Floyd, yeah, I'm going to say, I got to go here to go back. But after George Floyd death, and the United States took a shaking up. Now, more than just the United States, our whole entire world, per se, took a turn for a lot of things. So at that point, a lot of people started changing stuff. This is offensive. Let's change this. And I'm going to go straight to the two people I want to talk about. Aunt Jemima on the pancake box. Oh, my gosh, she's offensive. Let's take her off. We never said she was offensive. And some of us might have, but we never said that. Uncle Ben, well, Uncle Ben, let's take him off the box. Let's take him off because he's defensive. We never said that. But let me tell you who Aunt Jemima was. You see, when your child got sold and was new to the plantation, without their parents coming or without a sibling coming or that kid fresh off being sold, sent to this plantation, Aunt Jemima took care of your child. She was sent to Big Mama. Big Mama was Aunt Jemima. Aunt Jemima was the Big Mama, and that child got sent to her. She protected that child. She taught the child the ropes of what to do. But Big Mama, Aunt Jemima, became the mama, of the plantation. She was the mama. So that kid came to her. That kid knew to come to her. That was a known fact to go to her. That's who she was. So we wanted her removed from the pancake box. That's only because we didn't know who she was. That's much like people call you an Uncle Tom. Hey, call me one, because Uncle Tom was not. He did tell, but he didn't tell the truth. If the slave oppressor came up and asked him, "Hey Tom, did you see them run?" He gonna say, "Yep, I saw them run." Now they ran right, okay. He gonna say, "Well, they went left, and they were gonna go through." Now he got a whole story telling. They went left, and then they were gonna go to here, through there, and that's all I know. He sits on the porch. They go looking for him, and naturally they can't find him, and there's an excuse. He never gets punished for it. But Uncle Tom did tell. He didn't tell the truth. If they went east, he said they went west. And he had a whole trail that they went west, and then they were going to go down and on and on and on. He told where they were going, but it was a lie. He didn't tell the truth. He protected the slaves. So as we call people Uncle Tom, Uncle Tom was a good guy, all right, during slavery time. He was a good guy. Like I said, he told what direction we weren't going in. He told the slave oppressors, yeah, they went left, they went right, but they were opposite of wherever he said they was going. That is not where they were going. But he got to sit on the porch, and that was the role he played. And we needed him to keep playing that darn role. We needed Aunt Jemima to still be Big Mama. And we needed her to play her role. And then there's Uncle Tom. What's his name? Uncle Ben. Uncle Ben. He's on the rice box and all that. Well, guess who Uncle Ben was? Uncle Ben was the male Aunt Jemima. Uncle Ben, when a new slave child came on board, and he was a boy, Uncle Ben went and got him. See, kids knew when they got somewhere to look for Aunt Jemima or Uncle Ben, because both of those people were at the plantation. So the kids knew to go find one of them, and they will be not that they won't be mistreated or whatever like that, but that person there is going to look out for them. So that was a known thing. So, but us go, Aunt Jemima and Uncle Ben and Uncle Tom. No, we need to learn the history of them, why they had those names, who were they. Those were important people in our times. But when this George Floyd thing come up, what happened? Oh, let's take her off the box. They don't like that. We didn't say we didn't like that. Now, a lot of people did, but if you knew the history of who she was, leave her on that box. And we grew up with her on the box for years, so I would say leave her on there. She wasn't doing nothing. We're okay with that. Leave her there. But it was removed. But that's who she was. And, I said, Uncle Ben, remove him from the box. No, leave him there, because he had a role to play. See, they had roles. And most of us don't know what roles they had. So we agree, yeah, take them off the box. No, put them back. I'm not offended by that. I know the history of who these people were. But all of a sudden, this offensive thing came. So, yeah, they've been mad about this for years. No, we haven't. I want her back on the syrup box. I want her back on the box. I want her on the syrup thing, too. I want her back. I want Uncle Ben to be back on the rice box, because he cool. He took care of the boys that came. Aunt Jemima took care of the girls that came. Come on, these people had some roles to play. But us not knowing our history, and listen to me good, us not knowing our history, guess what? We let it go and we're like, yeah, let's change that. No, 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 no. We need to know who we are and where we came from. And I'll say this is Juneteenth weekend. How many times during these weekends when you had an event, you explained what the heck Juneteenth was? Or did you just say, yeah, it's Juneteenth, we're going to celebrate it, we're going to have a cookout, we're going to have a this, we're going to have a that? Did you do that without the education of what Juneteenth is? Did you just celebrate it? Just because it's here, it's there, it's about black folks, and we just going to celebrate it. No. When we do these celebrations, when we have these events, the one thing we need to do is explain what the heck it is. Explain it. Because after you explain it, I'm like, well, hold on, wait a minute. I might not need to do that. Explain these things. That's why I used to go back to, and I might go back. I used to explain what holidays were all about, to make sure that we knew what we were doing. Just to make sure. Like I said, Juneteenth is a Texas holiday. Now, a lot of other states celebrate it too. A lot of others, but it's a Texas holiday. Texas should know about it. It should not just be the day you barbecue. It should not be a day where you just, oh yeah, we're gonna have a car show, bike show, whatever show, skate rink. We explain what it is first. Explain what Juneteenth is all about. When I got here, I had never heard of Juneteenth. When I got here in the day of the Luby shooting, but it was in August. It was September in time. Well, the time frame of the Luby shooting. So Juneteenth passed, and I had to wait till it went around again. So when I got here, and that following year came up, and people said, "We're getting ready for Juneteenth," and I didn't want to light the nut. I didn't want to look like, okay, what is it? I didn't want to say that. I didn't. I wanted to sound like I was really smart. I was like, oh, okay, and I was like, oh, okay. So what we're gonna do? We're gonna do this, and I was part of the NAACP at that time, and so I'm like, yeah, what we gonna do? They said we're gonna barbecue, we're gonna have a street fest. I'm like, wow, okay. So to myself, I'm like, Juneteenth is really something. Okay, so now I gotta find out about it, So I asked the person who's from Texas, what is Juneteenth about? What is it for? So she explained it to me. I was like, oh, okay. So then I didn't get it. Because my thing is, I was like, wait a minute. We celebrating the fact that for 2 years and 6 months, you all were free and didn't know it. We celebrating the fact that for 2 years and 6 months, the slave oppressor got extra work out of you. So I'm like, yeah. So that's what we celebrate. Yeah. Okay, so for me, that didn't make any sense. It didn't. At that point, I was like, okay, somebody crazy, and it's not me. All right, but I realized I'm in Texas. They celebrate. All right, let's do this. Well, what I was happy about was it was celebrated Friday night as a festival. They explained what Juneteenth was. Saturday, it was explained again. So it sunk in. I got it now. I have it now. But, we need to go back and look at what we're celebrating. And I'm looking back. I come from Detroit, so I'm looking back. I'm like, okay. The city of Detroit, which most people don't know, and we skipped that whole part of history. I'm like, let me think. In 1863, Detroit had been a part of the United States for 57 years. I know most of y'all going, what? Yeah, Detroit was only part of the United States 57 years before when the Emancipation Proclamation was signed. That's it. We had only been in the United States, and before that, we were under British control. And if you look at now, some states, if you look in the history of them or the cities, you won't find much about slavery, and you'd be wondering did they have any. But Detroit did have some, but they weren't. They were more servitude than they were slaves. But anyway, Juneteenth is celebrated. Back to Juneteenth, it is celebrated in a lot of other places because Texas took it with them. So it is celebrated. But we got to remember, when something becomes federally celebrated, it changes. Watch night. Watch night was just watch night. Now watch night is New Year's Eve, and guess what? You gotta buy an outfit, get your hair done, your shoes, some new shoes. You gotta get your toes done. Men gotta buy a suit. You gotta get all these things. You gotta spend a whole bunch of money because the name went from watch night to New Year's Eve. So it got commercialized, and it's a federal holiday. Well, New Year's Day is. New Year's Eve isn't because you get off work early, but it's not a federal holiday. But it's still a holiday. So it was taken from being, we're going to be free the next day, family gathering of people, sitting and talking about what we're going to do the next day. It went from there to New Year's Eve, get the hats out, get all the drinking you're going to get done, party, spend, a lot of money on what you're going to be buying. It went there. It went straight there. New Year's Day, Emancipation Day, slaves are free in certain states. Slaves are free. It's a whole new ball game now. Let's go find our cousin. Let's go find my kids. Let's go find my sister. Let's go find my family. And it's New Year's Day. New Year's Day, what they think about football. So they've changed Emancipation Day or Freedom Day to New Year's Day. It's all about football, the hangover that you had from the night before, that you got to sleep off, and drinking some more today because it's a football game. That's it. So it's New Year's Day. They took it, made it commercialized. So it's no longer what we had, the second African American holiday. It's no longer what we had. It's not Emancipation Day. It's not Freedom Day. It's now New Year's Day. Commercialized. Are you going to spend money? Yes, because remember, you got to buy stuff now. Now, before for New Year's Eve, we, African American folks, especially Southerners, cook some black-eyed peas, cornbread, some greens to bring in the new year. That was to bring in the new year food. That was a tradition. And that was basically all you spend money on. Now, New Year's Day, no. Like I said, New Year's Day is football, cooking, buying some more food, getting some more drinks. It's no longer a quiet celebration of people that were free. They found out they were free. That's not even in there no more. New Year's Eve, watch night, you go to church. First you went to church for a couple hours, you come home. Now, your church, the service starts 8 o'clock in the evening, and you even having breakfast there. So they got you even to breakfast time. So that went further. We taken that out of the content of where it is. So you're not you staying there for breakfast. Me, I'm going to be sleeping. I would be sleeping somebody's church because I can't stay up that long, and I'm not going to stay up that long. But we've taken things that were sacred to us and we've allowed it to be commercial. So our first holiday, watch night, is now New Year's Eve, commercial. Our second holiday, which is Freedom Day or Emancipation Day, is now New Year's Day, commercial. Now, once again, we have Juneteenth. What is it now? Federal holiday. Next year, what's going to be? Commercial. Next year, you're going to walk in the store. Like I said, New Year's Eve, shopping, because you got to get all the stuff for the night. New Year's Day, shopping, because you got to get food from, that you got to cook that day, and football games, and you got a hangover, so you got to drink so you can feel better. All these things are going to happen on the day that it was a sacred day. But it's been turned over to commercial. Because whenever it becomes federal, now it's commercial day. It's no longer a day where we go back and reflect. It isn't. I guarantee you, in nobody's house on New Year's Eve, are they talking about what watch night? Are you teaching your kids watch night? Or are you teaching them that I got to get a babysitter for you so we can hit the streets? we got to go to church and we're going to stay all night and eat breakfast there? Or are we talking about what watch night at? Are we all saying this is what watch night really is? Are we doing that? New Year's Day. Are we saying New Year's Day, first day of the year, yes, but this is what happened on this day in 1863? Are we saying that? Or are we simply, football game, got to get this, got to get that done, my hangover, oh man, I got to take something for it. Well, let me drink a little more. That's what we're doing. Are we explaining to our kids what it actually is? Most likely not. Most likely not. Now we have another commercial federal holiday. Are we going to explain the history of it? Most likely not. See, we as the people got to remember something. We black folks, Africans, African Americans, whatever we want to call ourselves, we got to look at things the way they actually are. And we got to see past some of these things. As I began the show, when I was telling you why I was disagreed making Juneteenth a federal holiday, because now it's going to be commercialized. Like I said, next year, I bet anybody that's listening, I'm going to see some Juneteenth plates, some Juneteenth cups. I'm going to see a Juneteenth tablecloth that's not sold by us. Let me go back. It's not going to be sold by us. No. These stores that we go to, they're going to have these things. They're going to have these things. And you know what we're going to do? Not all of us, some of us, we're going to buy them. We're going to buy them. So when we had that barbecue, yeah, look, I got some Juneteenth plates. I got the Juneteenth cups, the napkins. Did you buy it from us? No. I bought it from this store. I'm not going to name stores. We bought it from this store. Got it from that store. That's what they're going to have for us next year. They're ready. And we're going to fall into it. Juneteenth, if we're going to buy anything, it should be from us. Because it is about us. We should also, once again, use it to grow us. But what are we going to do? What are we going to do? We're going to let it go. What are we going to do now that we have Juneteenth, but we still don't have our voting rights? Our own governor, if you pay attention, when he signs SB 7, which is Senate Bill 7, it's going to change. Because, we would do souls to the polls as voting on Sunday. Okay, if he takes that away, so much for the souls to the polls. Because that's what the plan is. And see, the other part of the plan is to change some of the hours for early voting. That's a new plan. That's a plan in effect that we got to deal with. But we're happy that Juneteenth is a federal holiday. But at the same time, we're going to lose some of our voting rights. At the same time, we don't have a hate crime bill. Stop being happy about the little things. I was looking on Facebook this morning. This one guy, he was like, why are we complaining about it? And somebody liberated him by letting him know, this is why we're complaining. After that, he go, oh, okay, I can't say nothing. So he couldn't say nothing because he woke up, oh, yeah, he happy. He happy about it. But then when reality of the truth set in, the reality of the truth of everybody got a hate crime bill but us. Think about it. Everybody got a hate crime bill but us. Who do we see on TV, on Facebook, on whatever ever we listening to or looking at? Who do we see getting beat up the way they did? Who do we see? We see us. So as you celebrating and so happy about this federal holiday, you need to go back and ask these senators, excuse me, what about the George Floyd bill that you all having a hard time passing? What about that bill? What about our voting rights? What about that? Why are you having a hard time with that? But it took you 2 seconds to get this Juneteenth flying through. Y'all been holding these bills for months. Just sitting there reading them and looking at them. Haven't done anything about it. Didn't do nothing about it. So we need to reflect. And we need to understand. And we need to know, don't throw a symbol when I need some truth. Don't throw me a symbol when I need you to do the George Floyd Act. I need to pass. Don't throw me a symbol instead of a hate crime bill. Don't throw me a symbol when you're trying to rearrange my voting. Don't throw me a symbol. Now, think about this. Texas, House Bill 3979 is saying we can't talk about racism and we can't talk about current events. We can't talk about any of those things. And then you go and make Juneteenth a federal holiday. Okay, you can't talk about it in Texas because you can't talk about Juneteenth without racism. You can't talk about it. So you passed a federal bill for us. Yet in school in Texas and in 12 other cities or 12 other states, we can't talk about it because in order to talk about Juneteenth, you gotta talk about racism. You got to. You can't. You don't have no choice. No choice at all. Did we think about that? No, we're not thinking about that. So you know the challenge is still there. Contact these senators. Hey, you gave us the symbol. I'm not happy with the symbol. This is what we actually need. That's what we need to start doing. That's where we need to go. So the last few minutes of the show, I'm going to talk about last weekend. Last weekend, 6, as we know, or probably maybe a little more, of our youth from 17 down were in Austin. They had a feud here in our area, and the feud, they didn't continue to Austin, just that these two opposite groups met each other and decided to start shooting, and just happened to be in Austin. And I got a phone call from one of the relatives with a question. The question was that this kid was taken out of class down to the police department in Austin without his parents being called. So what I explained, and some people still don't realize that, is that in Texas, a 17-year-old is 2 people. Yes, 17-year-olds are minor. Yes, there are things that they cannot do because they are minors. Yet, when a crime is committed, your 17-year-old is an adult. So you need to remember, your 17-year-old is an adult. The other thing you need to remember is when you send your child to school, the principal is the parent. When you send your child to school, the principal and the police come to the school, hey, Mr. S., and the police explain the entire thing and say, we need to talk to, Randy. We need to talk to him. Well, guess what? The principal can say, okay, go talk to him. The principal can say that. Go talk to him. Because at that point, your child is up under the leadership and under the command of the principal, not you. Not unless you have a note in there that says, no matter what, my child is not to talk to anybody unless I'm called first. Can you write a note and say that? Yes, parents, you can. You actually can. You can do that. But for right now, what you need to know is the principal has the right to make that decision because that principal is in charge of you at that point in time. So, yes. Could the police do that? Yes. Did they have a right to do that? Yes, and they did. Yes. But also what we need to, and the other kids went to juvie. We only know about the 17-year-old because he's being charged as an adult. The rest we won't know because they're minors, and legally we can't find out their names or who they are because they're minors. And they aren't treated as adults. They're minors. But what we need, parents, it's a conversation that we need to have with our kids that we don't want to have once again. In our area and in a lot of states, if your child gets picked up for a crime, and let's say your child is 9 years old, and he did some vandalism, because 9-year-olds, they're vandalism people. He did some vandalism. It cost a lot of money. He got picked up to go to juvie, because he can't go to juvie. But that morning, he gets arraigned like everybody else. Do you realize that your son or your daughter at 9 and up is standing in front of a judge by themselves? You're not up there. You're in the back sitting down. You cannot stand up there with your child. Your child is standing there, just listen, in front of a judge, and he's asked those same questions. Can you afford a lawyer? All right. They don't know. They don't know whether you got one or not, because that's not something you discuss with your kids. And you can't be there to say, tell the judge no. So your kids gonna have to learn to say no. Can you afford a lawyer? Kids got to say no again. Do you want a court-appointed lawyer? Your kids gonna have to try to figure that out, because they don't know. They don't even know what a court-appointed lawyer is. In fact, most of us don't know what a court-appointed lawyer is. But your child has to know to answer that. So you need to add that to your question that you ask your child. The things you ask talk to your kids about. You need to go back and tell them that. They need to know, commit a crime at 17, you're an adult. Okay, I'm sorry. You're not going to juvie for 2 years and come out. Nope, doesn't work that way. You're going to be in there with the big boys. You might be a little boy, but you're going to be in there with the big boys. Don't smile either, because you're in there with the big boys. You're in there with the ones who don't have nothing to lose. You're going to be in there with them. So before you think about it, let your kids know how these laws work. Let them know, yeah, you can go to juvie now and transfer over to prison later. We need to talk to our kids about that, because it's getting to be a little too much. It's getting way out of control. Along with that, we have this new issue going on with our kids, and we need to break that somehow or another, because we have a rash of kids who disappear only for a couple of days, and then they reappear at home again. And I wouldn't say anything if it was like, not, but it's happening so frequently. It is. It's really happening. And then the kids, when they get home, they don't say nothing. Where you been? Nothing. What you been doing? Nothing. They get no answer. They get nothing. Nothing at all. So you're a parent with no answer. You're a parent. My kid took off, and now I don't know anything. They won't talk to me. It's just not. So that's something else we got to pay attention and look into to find out. Did your child actually run away and knew where they were going, had a destination already in place, and they knew that all they got to do is show up back somehow or another, show up somewhere and happily come back home? Is that what's going on? We need to check this, because, like I said, you got too many kids who just disappear for the weekend, disappear for 3 days and come back. They come back and they're okay, and they're not coming back, oh my gosh, scared to death of ever. No, they're coming back okay, and they dummy up when they get to the parents. And what I mean by dummy up, you know what I mean? They don't say a word, they don't say nothing. Parents looking at them, they're looking at the parents like, what? So this, and we're going through this. And why are we going through this? What is really going on? So we need to step it up a bit there, because if you're looking on in the papers or reading the news or however you're getting your information, you'll see that we got like all these kids gone. In 2 days they come back. You're like, for real, seriously? What's really going on here? Are they, because you can't say they're being kidnapped, because they're coming back in a few days. So we got to break that cycle and find out what's actually going on with our kids and these disappearing acts. We don't know, and the unknown part, we don't know whether they got threatened and they can't say nothing. We don't know if they just ran away because, they wanted to be hanging out with somebody for a certain amount of time. We don't know. And by us not knowing, we can't fix it. You got a parent who's upset. We can't fix this. If nobody's talking, we can't fix it. There's nothing we can do about it, except for paying attention and trying to get to the heart of it, because somebody got to talk at some point in time. But right now, we got a rash of kids that's just disappearing and coming back. It's usually 2 days, maybe 3. They're coming back. That's it. They're back. And parents are like, what happened? No answer. Are you hurt? Are you okay? No answer. So we got parents that's confused, and a kid that's doing whatever they're doing, and nobody knows. So we must find out what's going on and stop it from happening. We got to do that. But we got to do that. We got to leave our house. When we do that, that means we got to go out and talk to people. We go and do that. We got to listen. We got to start listening. When kids do something crazy or run away or whatever, they kind of give you a hint. They don't say, hey, I'm running away tomorrow. But they drop little hints along the way that they know you're not picking up. And you're not going to put it all together until something happens. But they kind of let you know. They let you know. And, it was a girl that was missing. She came home, and I was telling her mother, I'm like, you don't know all your kids' friends. Her, nothing. She go, oh, yeah, I know all of her friends. I know every last one. No, you don't. You really don't. And I told her, I said, when you were growing up, your mother didn't know all your friends. Yes, she did. Did she know every friend that you had at school? No. Why not? Because she didn't. Well, I told you, you had friends that she didn't know. Kids now have friends that your parents don't know nothing about. It's not that you have to know all your kids' friends, but it's the reality that they have friends that you don't know who they are. You've never seen them before. We need to face that. Is that a big issue? Yeah. Is it something we can fix? No, because we've been having friends our parents didn't know about for years. Years. And it's not on purpose. It's just that when I go to school, or when you send your kids to school, you send them to school. You're not in the class with them going in the hall. So you don't know who their friends are. And you got to figure, some of the kids' friends, they don't want you to know who they are. Now, you're not going to know she my friend. Oh, no. I got to keep her in my back pocket as a friend because you cannot know who she is. And there's a reason for it. But we need to think about that. But we need to also find a way to get in with our kids so we can stop this because they don't realize what some of the consequences are of what they're doing. We need to sit down and talk with our kids about the fact that when you're 9 years old, you go before the judge by yourself. I am not with you. We sitting in the back waiting for you to see what we got to do to get you home. That's what we're here for. The rest of the stuff, they don't get to sit up there with you and help you answer nothing. They don't. So we need to educate our kids about that. And our holidays, like I said, they gave us a symbolic holiday. Let's wake up, shake your head, and let them know, excuse me, I'm not for that symbol. And to go all the way back to the beginning when I started Father's Day. Hey, fathers, today, 2 o'clock, East Center, be there. Come find me. Get your raffle ticket. Get a prize. Women, this is not for you who raised your child by yourself. You had Mother's Day. So do not come up to me asking for a raffle ticket saying I had to raise my child by myself. We don't have by myself awards. And there's no by myself holiday. I'm not going to say it too loud because it's going to be one by tomorrow. But anyway, I want you to remember everything I said. I did say a lot, but I want you to remember what I said. And I need us to pass this information on because in order to stop issues, we need to know about them and we need to bring them up. Then we can begin to work and fix them. So I want to thank everyone for listening to KISS Community Connections this morning. I hope you took in all the information that I gave out. I know I gave out quite a bit, but that's what we're for. The more informed we are, the better we are, and the more things that we can get done. So I want you to always remember, you cannot lead a positive life with a negative mind. We'll talk to you next Sunday. Bye now.